Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon we have Simon and Zoryna talking to us about new normal. Over to you, chaps.
Thanks, David. Simon, as David said, back to talk to you about new normal. Yeah, another fantastic session this morning from Vanda. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, again, highly recommended. It's just amazing how much the guys in the Changemaker group know. It's really good. And also please share these videos, or at least share a link to the Changemakers Network with your friends on Facebook, and then they can come in and watch these videos as well. So welcome back. I'm going to just share a picture with you. Let me just get there a moment. And where are we? There we go. Just take a moment to come up on the screen. So this is the diagram that we've been talking about over the last week and a bit, starting with shock, through denial, frustration, depression, acceptance, and experiment. And now we're here to talk to you about the new normal. Now, what's interesting about the new normal, although it's the last phase on the unwanted change curve, it's actually not the end. Which may be a bit disappointing for some of you, but it's not the end. It's actually the start. It's where things are now. You need to take stock of exactly where you are and think it through and decide for yourself, is this really the normal that you want? It's certainly an emergence from the old, and it's certainly hopefully the end of all of that turmoil that you've been through thinking about or experiencing this particular change. And it's the end of experimenting. It's about integrating a lot of activities, but it's certainly not the end. It's pretty much where you get started on living your life in new ways. And with that in mind, we have 3 tips that Zoryna and I are going to share with you. And the first tip is all about establishing your new framework, starting with, we've suggested visions and values, but let's just go back a step and think about what establishing a new framework is really all about. It's effectively saying or asking yourself, what needs to be reset? So you'll find yourself, having done all of that experimentation that Vanda was talking about in the previous session, with a whole array of things that are different. And you'll need to decide, you know, what am I going to keep? What am I going to throw out? What am I going to utilize with all of this stuff? And what do I need to reset overall? Because the new world may be very different from the old. And so some of the things that are maybe legacy, some of the things that you have still in your hands from life before this specific change may no longer be useful. So you just need to reset. And a great place to start is, especially when you're thinking about this from a personal perspective, is with your vision and values. What vision do you now have for yourself, having experienced this particular change? I know many of my friends who are going through this pandemic turmoil right now are reevaluating their lives, deciding for themselves what's important, what do they really value, and what do they hope to do with the rest of their lives, given their new perspective. So, you know, there's quite a few videos around on YouTube and other platforms of people just imagining a whole crazy new world where maybe they don't, you know, work in exactly the same ways as they've done before. They don't consider money and other necessities, if you like, in the old world as being as critical in what they're trying to achieve moving forward. Or maybe they're rethinking relationships, or maybe they're rethinking where they invest their time, and they have a new vision for themselves. And so this is the time, once you've experimented for a while and you've got clarity in your head as to how you're going to move forward, to just press that reset button. What's my vision? What are my values? Have my values changed? And once you've got those 2 things sorted out for yourself, then you're in a much, much better position to ask yourself even more questions. And that's what I want to hand over to Zoryna.
Thank you, Simon. And I will start with something which I wanted to say for last 2 weeks. Greetings from the sunny Isle of Wight. We finally have sun here. So I want to talk to you about second top tip from Simon and myself, which is be curious and question everything. As I said in my previous session about depression, our brain doesn't like change much, and overall it operates like a spy in a hostile environment. It is constantly chasing negatives and very easily present them to us. So we have a lot of events and things which can be perceived as stressful for us. And one of the ways to deal with this perception, one of the ways to deal and cope resiliently with all the events which are thrown at us, is adopting the attitude of curiosity and asking yourself questions. I wonder how easy it will be to deal with all of those things. I wonder how much stronger I will become as a result of this experience. I wonder how many lessons I will learn so that I can bring them into the future and flourish in the future. And actually, when we are saying hindsight, the word immediately resonates with us because it is something, or everyone is clever using their hindsight. But actually, right now, there is an opportunity for us to look back and think, what do I want to leave behind? What I don't want to take with me into the next stage of my journey in this life or business. And like Simon said, when you reevaluate your vision and your values, then you will discover things that probably are not as potent, not as important at this stage of your life and in the future. And this is opportunity for you, rather than continue doing the same things because you always did, opportunity to reflect, reset, and leave behind stuff which is no longer useful for you. The second part of this attitude of curiosity and questioning everything is about insights. And you can ask yourself, what really worked well for me in the past and right now? What have I learned about myself, about my environment, about my business, about my partners, about people around me? What is useful there? How can I use it easily for the future to help me in my personal life, in my professional life, in my business? All those insights, it is useful to reflect on them. It is useful to identify them and make a note for further reflection and for action. And of course, it is foresight. It is thinking about future, casting your eye into the future and asking yourself again with curiosity, how can I flourish in this future? As humans, it's not enough for us to just survive. We need to enjoy our life. We need to have sense of achievement. We need to have a sense of purpose, and also we need to know that we are flourishing. So what can you do? What opportunities are now presented to you by current situation, by experiences that you have had? I don't know about you, but I personally found myself in a situation of lockdown, working much, much more intensively, establishing huge number of new connections and contacts. And some of them are started like a social contact, more or less, or questions about something that people may have posted on social media, and I was interested in it, exploring it. And now, a month later, it's evolved into the stage where we are planning things that we are going together with all those people, with some of organizations. There are so many fantastic opportunities open there. And the best way to see, to notice those opportunities is by asking yourself, I wonder how easy it will be for me to find those opportunities. I wonder how many of those opportunities I will find. I wonder how much I will flourish when I will use all those opportunities in my personal, professional, and business life. And in overall, this is what attitude of curiosity is approaching everything with questions and wondering how easy, how enjoyable, and how simple it will be for you to do. For you who has so many resources, who has so much experience, so many contacts, and who has such a fantastic renewed and reset values and vision for yourself and your business. So I will now give a floor to Simon.
Thanks, Zoryna. What was interesting as well about that was how much the skills that you acquired in that acceptance phase, where it's about action, it's about, you know, looking around and just seeing things in the now and evaluating them rather than wondering about the past or being too uptight, if you like, about the future. It's just how much can you make real right now, and I think that works really well. So the third point is where we have to recognize the fact that, you know, maybe this new normal is not what we were aiming for. There's every possibility that the new normal that emerges won't be good enough for you. It won't be good enough for you and your family, or you and your close ones, or you and your organization, you and your team. It may not live up to what you hope it would in your, thinking, when you're thinking most positively about things. And so the idea is there's always room for improvement. And I think that's the fundamental principle, if you like, of continuous improvement. There's always room to make things better. And not just that, but also look at, evaluate when you're resetting, evaluating this new environment you find yourself and asking yourself, could this be better? Could this be something that could be much more as I imagined it, as opposed to how it is? What can I do? And this is where the change maker skills that we share in this forum are really useful, because you're not just sitting and accepting things, if you like. You've moved on from acceptance and you're challenging yourself to say, how can this be better? What else can we do? The curiosity continues, if you like, because, and yes, so that's the main point. But the other thing I wanted to say is, we've talked about this change, if you like. We've just traced one change through the curve. The reality is, right now, there are multiple changes going on, both in society, in our lives, in our relationships, in our working activities. There are multiple changes happening in all directions, and many of them are happening simultaneously. So it's not about managing yourself just through the one change. It's how can I manage myself and shore up my own resilience so that I'm able to cope with the fact that many things around me may be changing. And I try to think about the different types of change. So you've got that simultaneous change. You have different levels of change. Some changes are of massive importance and magnitude in our lives, and others are just minor adjustments. We've also got changes that have different levels of impact. Again, some will have more than others. And then we have that sense of significance and emotional impact. So it's not just the tangible things that impact us, but sometimes it's how does it impact our mindset. And again, some things will have a more critical impact on our mindset than others. So all of the things that Vanda was talking about in the experimentation phase, and that Zoryna shared in the shock and the depression stages, those techniques of shoring up your personal resilience will really help you at this stage when you're starting to think, how do I cope with the sheer volume of change around me? Well, as we said in the acceptance phase, one coping mechanism is to take action. So as long as you can get the action habit, you can start to design a future the next normal, you can start to make that happen yourself. Not all change comes from external factors. Some change comes from within, and that's your opportunity. What would you like to draw out of yourself and create your own next normal, as it says in the bullet point there? That's the real opportunity. That's why we think that there's room for a lot more change makers in the world, people who can fabricate change for good, because not every external change, a lot of this unwanted change that we've been discussing is not always, doesn't always come with a big smile and a bow on the top. Quite often it can be damaging, quite often it can be upsetting. So if you've got all of these skills that we've been sharing with you over the course of this program, you can now go on and start to make change happen for yourselves, and you can create your own next normal, a place where you want to live and thrive. So that's our wish for you, which is what we've been leading up to with this program, is to just help you recognize that you are in control of this. Back to that E plus R equals O. Whatever events are going on in your life right now, you can respond and react, and you can create your own change and create your own outcomes. That's the opportunity that's available to you. So keep making change happen. Keep supporting each other in this forum. There's opportunity to be mentored. There's an opportunity to be a mentor. There's opportunities to ask questions and share inspirational information. That's what this forum's all about. It's your forum, that myself and the other members of the Changemaker group, we're just here to help, and anything we can do to support, but it really is your forum. So use it to explore new ideas and imagine the next normal that you're looking to create. So that's it for this particular phase. I'm going to just check in a moment if Zoryna would like to add anything, but just wanted to set you up as well for Friday's session at 11 a.m. when David, our ace producer, and Kathy, who took you through the denial phase, are going to come together and review all 7 of these phases with you. So it's definitely one you don't want to miss. So Zoryna, what did I forget?
You forget nothing. I just wanted to add something to remember when you are moving into this next normal, when you are creating your next normal, that only you can set limit of what you can achieve. Only
Love
you.
it.
No COVID-19, no lockdown, nothing can stop you. Because if you adopt the attitude of curiosity and will question things and will prime yourself to find the way to push your limits, to explore new things, to learn, to act, there is no limit to you. Only you will decide when to stop. I wish you all the best into this new stage of creating and enjoying creating your next new normal.
Brilliant. I love the idea of unstoppable change makers.
Yes.
David, how are we doing?
We're doing great, guys. We're doing great. We have some questions. Nikki Crew asks, given the experience we've had with the pandemic, all of us, do you think that our sense of purpose may have changed, which obviously affects our new normal?
Can I take this one, Zoryna? Because I think it's related to step 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's I think it's a great question, Nikki, because that's part of our personal frameworks. We have our vision, we have our values, and what sticks underneath that in terms of our day-to-day activities is driven by our purpose. So I think this is a great opportunity for people to reevaluate their purpose in life. And we're seeing it already across social media, people stepping up, if you like, and being change makers in their local communities, for their local families, for the key workers, and recognizing that maybe our purpose is not to be on this planet just to go out and earn as much as we can and wear ourselves out as quickly as possible. Maybe the purpose is to be more connected. I mean, I don't want to suggest what everybody's purpose needs to be, but I definitely think that something as impactful and as significant as the pandemic will definitely lead to people reassessing their purpose. Zoryna?
Just to add to it, that there is a lot of evidence in academic field which shows that when people are in situation of pandemic and quarantine, there are a lot of things happening with us, and we definitely do reevaluate our values and vision. But also, very often we can see, and we probably have a lot of examples to give to support this notion, that there is a definitely increase in altruistic feelings and actions of people. Just look at what we are doing all together as communities and countries. We are looking after vulnerable, we are supporting each other, and we are doing it because we suddenly realize that there is probably nothing more valuable than human life and being part of this community. So I think COVID definitely redefined things, and even people who were very materialistic maybe at some stages, they started thinking more about their personal impact and impact of their businesses on wider community and on planet Earth as well.
Hey, thank you. Next question is from Mindtree, which is Vanda. Could you use a mind map to look at the 3 ways to be curious and assess everything on one page?
That's the hindsight, insight, and foresight, Zoryna.
Yes, I think my best thing is, Vanda, by the way, is not just a Mindtree guru. She's an expert in mind maps. And I would love an opportunity to work with Vanda to create this mind map, because I think it will be great.
Fabulous. Thank you. That was nice and succinct. The last question, yeah, it is the last question. How can we bring others who may not be as far along the change curve to join us in our new normal?
You can go first this time.
I can answer this question. Well, it is absolutely true that we go through this curve at different speed, and we spend different amount of time at each point of the curve. To complicate the matter, sometimes we can slide up and down this curve, and sometimes we can revisit certain points of the curve. So the chances are, even if you will take your own household, don't mind your wider family or your business group or colleagues at work, you all will be at different stages of this curve. So from my point of view, I would encourage people first to understand that this is what it is, this is how we react. Secondly, from this understanding, to be compassionate and tolerant to self and others, and understand that this is a difficult journey, and there are stages of this curve which are particularly emotionally charged, and not necessarily with the best of emotions. Sometimes there are difficult emotions. So being observant, being compassionate and supportive to each other, I think probably is the best way to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. What's interesting about this knowledge, if you like, is once you know how people typically feel along this curve, and recognizing all of the other information that we shared earlier in terms of simultaneous changes going on and a whole environment of everything changing, it's unsurprising that people who haven't as yet acquired all the coping strategies that we've talked about struggle and continue to struggle, and will continue to struggle in the future if we don't help them. The reason we created the Changemakers Network was to ensure that nobody was ever more than, let's say, arm's reach away from someone who could support them, someone who could help them at times when they are struggling with the volume of changes that are around them. So if you know that even if you know that you're only one step ahead of somebody on the change curve, you can always invest some time in supporting them. But of course, if you recognize that you're feeling frustrated and you see somebody who's ahead of you on the change curve, maybe they are in acceptance or they're experimenting, maybe that's your opportunity to just say, maybe I can get into the action habit and join them, and recognize it's going to help me as well as them. So sometimes just helping another person is enough to help speed your journey through the change curve. So look at it as an opportunity. Now you have this knowledge of all the time you can be helping and supporting others, you will be improving your chances of getting through this change and being fully resilient and capable of marching forward towards the next change.
Thank you very much. There are no more questions, so if you'd like to wrap up.
Sure. So, you know, I think Zoryna and I have covered all the bases on new normal. We'd love to read your comments. If there's anything else, if you're watching this later after it's finished going live and you have any questions, please put them below and we'll answer them. But other than that, I just want to suggest very strongly that you have a listen in on Friday at 11 o'clock to David and Kathy. You don't want to miss that session, and wish you all the best. Zoryna.
All the best from me. Thank you for being with us through all those steps of the change curve. And please join us for a cup on Friday.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much, Simon, Zoryna. Yes, the next session is at 11 a.m. British Summer Time on Friday. And you'll be so pleased to know that that's me and Kathy. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.